Yesterday, the Institute for Security Studies released a report detailing what happened at the two major scenes on that fateful day. In one, 57 officers from 4 units fired just under 300 bullets at mine workers. A few hundred meters away, their colleagues killed 17 miners. Some had taken cover under rocks, others were hiding in the bushes. Their widows say they now live in abject poverty as they wait for compensation from the state for what happened to their breadwinners. In the build-up to that day, as I said, 10 people were also killed, including 2 police officers, 2 security guards and at least 4 miners. From multiple stab and gunshot wounds to a tongue cut out and others burned alive in their vehicles. It's one of the lowest points in our democratic order. So what lessons can be learned from those events? Have we moved on too quickly, or are there yet unresolved questions that we need to ask? Well, we are joined now in our Pretoria studios by the Communications Minister, Nomvula Mokonyane, who's speaking on behalf of government on Marikana. Minister, good evening to you and thank you for joining us this evening. I mean, from your point of view, from government's point of view, what lessons have we learned from that fateful day?
Thank you very much, Bongani. Firstly, as the Sotho saying goes, Matsidiso hafeli, we still continue to convey our sincere condolences. We regret what has happened on that particular day, and there are lots of lessons that we have learned, and hence government has fully embraced all the recommendations of the Falam Commission. And amongst other corrective measures that have been put in place is the retraining, including the changing of the curriculum with regard to public order policing in South Africa. Secondly, it's around crowd management. Thirdly, it's the work that IPD is dealing with regard to leadership on the operations of the law enforcement agencies and making sure that those that are responsible for issuing orders do take responsibility and there is consequence around that. The other area, it's around ensuring that we accelerate the adoption of the MPRDA, a bill that is now before Parliament, that would also take us forward in terms of the transformation of the mining sector and the roles and responsibilities. In line also with that, it's the work that the Minister of Mineral Resources, Comrade Mantashe, is busy with around the mining charter, as well as adherence to the Labour Relations Act with regard to Health and Safety Act. The other lesson that is quite important, and it's in line with the Falam Commission's recommendation, it's around development of all areas in our country, particularly in those areas that are so-called sending regions, such as in the Eastern Cape, where the majority of those who lost their lives are originally from, noting also that there are others coming from different provinces. We need to invest on development, the work that has been done in those sending provinces, but also the interministerial committee that has been set up to deal with the distressed mines and cities in South Africa, integrated human settlement that has been done, the health and safety workshops that have been run, and of importance also the disbursement of money that has gone through the trust fund that is now under the supervision and management of the attorneys. A lot of money has already been disbursed to the tune of 67 million, and this is not the end of it. We are awaiting a response coming from the representatives of the families so that together we can then be able to look at the extent to which whatever that has been put in a monetary form and is in the trust fund does actually reach out to those that are deserving, in the same vein as the allocation of houses that are happening in Kanini and around Marikana in Bujanala.
All right, we'll come to some of the detail that you've just outlined there, but just from a broad perspective, I mean, this incident remains a blight on the record of this government, does it not?
This has been the lowest in the history of our own democracy indeed, and hence we continuously say it will be something that we all regret that it had actually happened, and hence our demonstration of remorse will require industry, the mining sector, Lonmin in particular, to cooperate and adhere to the needs, including the housing and housing allocation for its own employees, the issues around safety and the responsibility of law enforcement, and of importance, the healing process, a commitment that His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa has made, that it is his own intention to go with all various organizations, civil society, labor, traditional leaders, faith-based organizations and community leaders, to a process where there will be interaction and looking at each other's face and really apologize to the people of Marikana, apologize to the widows and the children, but of importance, demonstrate in a programmatic way the work that is being done. And this is exactly work that is being done in some of the bilateral engagements with different key role players that I've referred to, because indeed we can't have this continuous separation rather than us being able to find one another and reconcile and ensure that therefore that those who stood to depend on the ones whose lives have been taken away do not continue to be perpetual victims of the inability of straightening our relationships. We are waiting to hear the feedback, as I've said, coming from the attorneys who are managing the trust fund, that money has actually been transferred to.
Minister, you say it's the lowest point in our democratic order. It's been 6 years. There are calls for the president himself to be on the ground. He wasn't there today. If he wants to apologize, why didn't he go? He's out of the country on SADC business. Does that send the right message, given how you've just described this event?
We besides the day today, which is the day that we all regret that it happened, there has been work that the interministerial committee that accounts to the president as the head of government has been doing, and there has been interaction and consultation with the various organizations and bodies. And hence, one of the things that we are raising, Bongani, is that we're looking forward to a time where we will be able to bring all parties together. It must be understood that the president today is on another mission of really fostering peace in our country, cooperation in our country with our neighboring states. And even in that engagement, the president has made a reflection on this particular day with his colleagues and counterparts. And it is something that we all are saying we need to go beyond the strained inability to talk directly and through dependency on middlemen, but find a way where those who are now facilitating the interaction and some of the cultural aspects will come together with us and bring us closer to the families, looking at the families and sharing with them on what we seek to do, and even being able to go beyond a public apology, but talk to those who are still unable to deal with the reality of losing a loved one.
All right, you say that funds have been released, funds are being given to the families who are affected by this. A number of those widows are saying they continue to live in poverty. They're saying that a caring government would have looked after them by now. AMCU, the union that represents most of the workers there, is saying, listen, if 1.7 billion rand could be put aside for an apartheid atrocity like the Bisho massacre, the 100 million this government is offering for Marikana is a joke. In fact, they're saying it's an insult.
It's not conclusive, Bongani. I want you to give us the opportunity. It's not conclusive, and hence we're saying we're waiting for the feedback from the attorneys who have been representing the families and who are part of the hearings in the Falam Commission. And if there are issues, it will be quite important for government to receive that feedback. And as I've said, that from what the records are saying, an amount of 67 million has been dispersed. And if it is insufficient, understanding the issues, those matters can actually be addressed if we are all able to come together. And our own plea is that we need to make sure that the teams that have been acting on behalf of the state, on behalf of Lonmin, on behalf of the families and communities, they need to actually ensure that they accelerate the feedback to government so that then we can all be able to shape the way forward. The 70 million that has been invested on human settlement in Marikana in the northwest, the money that has been invested on cooperatives that benefit also families in the Eastern Cape, the agriculture projects that are being considered in that area, and our future development of the implementation of the agricultural hubs in the Eastern Cape also reaches to those areas, the skilling of young people, so that we arrest the migration to urban areas. It must be an issue of choice and not an issue where people have no choice but to leave their homes and come to urban areas. It is those things, the assertion around the MPRDA and the mining charter in the best interest of the most exploited, the mine workers, are these things that government is also hard at work to deal with, and hence the establishment of the Interministerial Committee on the Depressed Mining Towns and Cities.
Minister, there are many who would say all of those things are part of what government ought to be doing anyway, and there are also growing calls for this day to be set aside as a public holiday, as a national day to be observed by the country. What's government's response to that?
When the Falam Commission said there were issues that were put before government and there were issues that were concluded before the Falam Commission, and precisely so that then there is an independent and impartial body that looks at these issues. And we have heard all these calls about the need for a public holiday and stuff. It was not in the report of the Falam Commission, and if this is something that is coming out, there will be, of course, a need for government to respond in that regard, and it can only happen if we all are able to find one another. And hence we are saying, Bongani, we're looking forward to a time where there wouldn't be intermediaries, but there will be a direct relationship with organized workers, with the families, with the communities, with the children, so that then their own voice can also be heard directly by government, including what is coming out through civil society. We know the processes of declaration of national days, and surely government will be open to hear what the issues are, and it will take into consideration all the reasons behind this. As I have said, it's a tragedy that has actually put these years of democracy at the lowest.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time, Minister Mokonyane. Of course, the Communications Minister speaking in her role this evening as the representative of government on Marikana. She says it's the lowest point in the history of our democracy. What are your thoughts? What are your responses? Is it enough? Are you reassured by what the minister said in that interview? Send us your comments and thoughts. Of course, you can always tweet us on Twitter. The hashtag is FullView. Remember, we're asking you to send us your voice notes or your video comments are on that number, +27 66 479 8056. Keep them short, not longer than 30 seconds, and tell us who you are and where you are from. Stay with us, a lot more after this.